Greetings, true believers, and welcome to another edition of the Reality TV RHAPpy Hour. My name is Jordan Parhar, and this week I'm here to talk some Survivor Cambodia with you on RHAPasawebsite.com. Today, I'm joined by a guest who is I really enjoy this guy a lot. He's really cerebral, very intelligent guy. I've been a big fan of this guy for a long time. You can see him sometimes on Rob as a podcast making quantum leaps and talking about twists and ranking things amongst other things. And you can also hear him sometimes from time to time on the Dom and Colin podcast. Amanda Kimmel is his favorite player of all time. It's the great Kos Kosdrosky, ladies and gentlemen. Kos, how are you doing?
I'm excellent, and that was one hell of an introduction. I appreciate it. I don't know that anyone's ever called me cerebral or whatever else you said. It's usually the exact opposite, where people are bashing me, which is totally justified. But either way, it's an honor to be on here. It's always a treat. Obviously, I know you. I would say more from your Rob has a podcast, known call-ins and now this than I do from Big Brother Canada 3, which I sadly gave up watching as soon as you left. So I feel like I'm just talking to another RHAPpy superfan here.
And that's exactly who you're talking to, Kos. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's an really interesting point. But yeah, I think that's really essentially what I am. I was a huge super fan of RHAPpy that happened to get on Big Brother, and that helped me get on to Rob as a podcast. So it's funny how that works. But yeah, I appreciate that, man. And I'm likewise to you. I know you're such a huge listener of Rob's. You've called Rob the greatest player of all time before, something that, you have very high praise for him. And I maybe wouldn't go that far in saying that, but I think that, yeah, Rob's a great dude. You totally get that. We're on the same page, and I think we're like-minded on a lot of things. So I figured, why not have you on the show today? And I think it's going to be a really good one. We got a lot of stuff to break down.
Definitely. And I do take back the thing about Rob. That was pre-Kim Spradlin, and if anybody doesn't think Kim Spradlin is number one, you should turn this off right now because you're just flat out wrong.
All right.
I'm ranking things already. Here we go.
There we go. Kos, all right, rattling some cages, and we're like maybe 3 minutes into this thing, but no, this is good. I'm glad. Before we get into it, because we got a lot to break down today, we are live on Blab, so if you want to leave us a question here in the chat, you can do so by typing /Q over on the right-hand side of your screen. And you can also tweet us as well. I am at Jordan Parhar. Kos is at I am the Kos. So if you want to tweet us some questions, maybe later down the road in the show, I can check Twitter. Depends on how long we're going to go today, because I feel like we're going to have a lot of stuff just based on you and I talking, let alone having people leave their questions on Blab. And also people can call in as well. So if you've got a webcam, you can call in and do that. But you never know. We might be able to get to those later. And make sure, if you are a listener of the show, you want to support the show, please subscribe on iTunes, RHAPasawebsite.com/RHAPpy Hour. That's happy hour with an R at the front. And you can also subscribe to us on YouTube. It's Reality TV RHAP-ups on YouTube. Okay, Colin, big episode this week. I mean, so much happened. It was crazy. Where do we begin? I mean, we have Jeremy playing the idol for Steven. We have Wentworth fighting another idol. Joe loses immunity. Steven uses advantage. Sierra and Stephen Fishback go home. Such an insane episode. And I was in the pre-show, I was like, where do I want to start with this? But I think we should just go with this chronologically. Let's break it down through the 2 hours, and we can get into it that way. Otherwise, it'll probably just turn into a eulogy for Stephen Fishback, the entire podcast. And I mean, I'm sure people want to hear that, but at the same time, there's so many other great things to cover as well. So let's talk about the first of these two tribal councils. So Sierra Easton, Kos, is idled out of the game. I was very disappointed because I love Sierra. Mind you, it was to save Stephen Fishback, so I was happy about that. But it was sad. I think Sierra was really great television this season. She did a really great job at certain things, maybe not so much at everything. But she was very aggressive this season, Kos. I think we can both agree on that. Why do you think that Sierra took this approach coming into this season?
I'm honestly not sure, because I don't think this was the approach that necessarily lends to winning a game like this. Maybe it would be in this season where we're seeing voting blocks and different aggressive gameplay, but I thought she would do much better kind of sitting back and letting the game come to her, and I was very surprised. I think it's partly because she was in the minority and she felt like she had to fight, but I don't know if that's necessarily the best approach when you're in the minority, especially when things are as fluid as this game is. I thought she would have been better served saying, hey, Kelly Wentworth is the big threat of the witches. Let's get her out. And then I'll just kind of sit behind the scenes, make my big move at 7. So I think she kind of did herself a disservice. But I also think that's partly who Sierra is as a player. I think she can't help but be aggressive and, oh my God, big moves. I got to make big moves all the time. And I think maybe that's something that Jeff put in her head too, is this is the woman who voted out her mom and drew rocks. Oh my God, isn't she so aggressive? I think she sort of started drinking her own Kool-Aid. I actually don't think she's that good of a player. I liked seeing her post-merge, but I think her aggression is sort of misaligned sometimes with how she should be playing the game. And I think that's ultimately what led to her downfall.
Interesting. So you don't think Sierra is that great of a player. Did you feel the same way after Blood versus Water, or are you thinking differently about her after seeing her play this season?
No, I actually thought the same thing about Blood versus Water. I was actually more impressed with her this time around than last time. I thought she made a lot of mistakes last time, and yes, she drew rocks, but that was because she didn't flip at 7 when she should have. So I think she gets the game on a basic level of I need to be aggressive and I need to take control, but I don't think she understands how to do that. And a lot of times I feel like her social game is more yelling at people saying, you're stupid, I'm the smart one, why aren't you doing what I say? I don't know if that's the best approach to getting people on your side, and I think that's ultimately why she is now a 2-time Survivor loser.
Interesting. Those are some interesting points. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but at the same time, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, that is some stuff that she was doing, and we did see this season Sierra getting along very well with Cass, who you could argue has a lot of those traits as well. Now, mind you, Cass came across, in my opinion, a lot better this season. I don't know how you felt about Cass. But yeah, those are fair points. I mean, I don't know. Interesting. But let's talk about something that I wanted to ask you, because you did this podcast with Rob in the summer, talking about the quantum leap in which you could go back into Survivor history, quantum leap into certain people's bodies at certain times and change the game and see what happens. And if that is worth it in the long run, if that makes things better for the game, or what have you. If you could quantum leap into Sierra Easton's body day 1 of Survivor Cambodia, what would you do differently about her game?
I think I would have sat there on the beach. I would have, I'll fire some shots. I might as well. I would have played the Sandra game for the first 30 days. I would have sat on the beach, hung out, done absolutely nothing. And then at some point late in the merge, I think I would have made my move. But I think there were so many aggressive people on this season. And as you're seeing, there's no one who's been in control of every vote. Everybody's been behind at some point where they think they know what's going on and they don't. And so I think especially the way this season is playing, taking a more passive approach is probably smart, because you don't necessarily need to be in control for all of the game. You need to be in control for the end of the game. And I think her mistake was that when she got behind in the numbers, she thought, I have to fight, because last time I remember what happened when I let Tyson, Monica, and Jervis get so far into the game as a huge block. And I think she focused on that a little too much, and that's partly why, the aggression didn't pay off for her. I think if she would have sat back a little bit, she could have made a move at 7 or 8, and that would have made a lot more sense for her. Now, granted, I will give her that her move would have worked in this tribal council had Jeremy not played his idol for Steven. But ultimately, I do think she's still going to be the next target no matter what. You had everyone, including Tasha and Spencer, being ready to pounce on Sierra at the next vote. So I don't think she would have lasted in the game. And I think if you're looking at which one of the 3 witches is and was in the better position, that's Kelly Wentworth, because she hasn't been overly aggressive in trying to say, let's switch things up, let's move everything around. Kelly's been more sitting back and letting things come to her, and it's working.
Now, interesting you bring up let's jump into the Jeremy Collins playing the idol for Steven Kos, because you're right. It would have worked for Sierra. The only problem is that she didn't anticipate Jeremy having a hidden immunity idol, and not only having a hidden immunity idol, but playing it for Stephen Fishback. I think that probably stunned everybody at that tribal council. People were very surprised. I was super excited. I was jumping up and down, clapping. I was so happy when that happened. I couldn't believe it. I thought, oh my God, Steven's safe. This is great. But ultimately, this did blow up in Jeremy's face. Steven goes home at the subsequent tribal council. Why do you think that Jeremy felt the need to make that move, Kos?
I think especially the voting blocks thing that they're talking about, I think people are looking at that as these are the power clusters, as I think somebody referred to it, and I need more people in my little power cluster for when we get down to, say, 7, I need 4 people. And I think Jeremy thought, and I don't know if he was wrong necessarily. I honestly can't tell. I think, the dynamics out there are different than what we've seen on TV, but I think he was looking at it as, if I lose Fishback tonight, then it's really just me and Spencer has his hand in a bunch of other pots on the other side. I could be in trouble. If I have Steven, maybe I can keep Spencer and Tasha. I'm not saying Steven was the nucleus of that, but I think just having more bodies available to you could end up being a huge advantage. So I at least get the rationale for it. I don't know if I would have done it myself, but I don't completely disagree with the move the way everyone else seems to.
Okay, interesting. So you think that if he didn't play that, do you think he was correct? Do you think that, okay, if Jeremy does not play that idol for Steven, he actually is kind of on an island by himself with Spencer going into that next round?
I'm going to say he was not correct to do it, but I don't think it was a major mistake. I think I at least see why he did it, and I think the rationale makes sense. But ultimately, I still disagree with the move. I think he was actually playing a tremendous game up until this point. And, this is something where he really stuck his neck out and said, this is who I'm aligned with. And I think Spencer realized, too, that, okay, he can tell me he's going to play the idol on me, but I don't know if I necessarily buy that. I think Jeremy was looking at it as, I can take Steven to the end and beat him now because I saved him. I don't know that anyone else is going to feel that close to Jeremy. So it might have been better for Jeremy to just be a free agent and kind of take a back seat for a couple votes and then try to jump back into things.
Do you think that maybe the reason why he was so gung-ho on doing this was because not so much just to save Steven, but the fact that he would be getting rid of Sierra? Do you think that had something to do with it as well?
I think it's definitely part of that, and I also think it's a resume builder that he doesn't even have to save himself. He can say, I saved somebody with an idol. This is how I was committed to my alliance the entire time. I think it's all resume stuff as well. Now, getting Sierra out is a bonus for him, too, because I don't think they would ever align. I think he's looking at it as, I'm in control. How do I keep control? Sierra is looking at it as, I'm not in control. How do I get control? So they're definitely opposing sides, and I think that's part of it. Getting Sierra out is definitely a good thing for Jeremy overall.
Agreed. And we saw him argue his case quite frequently throughout that first hour of the episode, trying to convince people, hey, guys, we got to get rid of Sierra. We can't get rid of Fishback. And it was to no avail. It did not really work. And as we saw, he had to play that hidden immunity idol in order to save himself. So do you think that, Kos, is there anything differently that Jeremy could have done to, like, what would you, if you were Jeremy, what would you have done to try and convince the Spencers, the Tashas, the people within his voting block to vote with him on that vote, rather than forcing himself to use that hidden immunity idol?
I'm not sure there's anything he could have done, honestly, because I think we've seen that Jeremy has the most control in this game up until this point. He seems to move votes around at will. He actually seems to have better connections than anyone else out there, at least as far as what we've been shown. So I think if he wasn't able to pull this off, I'm guessing that it just wasn't doable. I think people like Spencer were ready to take control of the game. They want Steven out so they can move ahead, so they don't have that other big strategic threat in the game. I'm not sure Jeremy could have gotten out of this. The question then becomes, do you just let it happen to Steven and then get back with Spencer and make a move and eventually cut Spencer down the line? So I think that's probably the approach I would have taken. I'm trying to give Jeremy a little credit here as far as, he probably gets this game fairly well, I would think. And my guess is if he wasn't able to push this in the other direction, there's probably a reason why he didn't force it. And I think using the idol ultimately isn't a bad idea in terms of getting what you want without burning all of your social capital in the game.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a really good point. I think, yeah, if you burn your social capital at this point, I mean, what was that, final 10? Who knows how things are going to be looking down the stretch for Jeremy when he really is going to need some help. And regardless, idol or not, you can't just rely on that for every single tribal. You're going to need to rely on the relationships that you have in the game. And if you don't have those, and if you don't have that social capital to make things happen, you're kind of really you're drawing dead. You're going to be drawing dead at some point, and I think that's probably perhaps that's something that was in the back of his mind when he did decide to whip that thing out. Now, but going into that, there was leading up to that week. There was a big decision in last week's episode. We had the Kelly Wigglesworth blindside, and I think really the Stephen Fishback, the downfall of Stephen Fishback kind of began there, Kos. Can we agree on that?
Definitely.
Yeah. So why is there anything after, like, if you're Steven, after that flip, how would you have handled things rather than what he did? Because it seems like Steven kind of just made that move. He's like, okay, yeah, we're good. And then he just felt like, all right, yeah, I'm safe, I'm fine, and we're just going to keep rolling with this game, and nobody's too upset with me.
Yeah, it's such a weird spot because first, let me say, I trust Steven to make the correct move in a situation, probably more than any survivor other than Sari Fields, where if I drop him into a scenario, do I trust that Steven's going to make the correct move? So it was so weird for me to see him going after Kelly Wigglesworth because I just don't get the rationale at all. The only thing I can think of is he looks at it as taking a piece, like a pawn, off of Joe's board. But I think he was so focused on Joe that he missed the attack coming from the other direction in Spencer. And I think he probably should have been a little more aware of that. I mean, he clearly did not think Spencer was coming for him at any point, which is kind of bizarre if you think about it. Why would Spencer want to sit next to Steven at the end? So I think he should have been much more cautious of the people on his side. I mean, I think Tasha is another one who has no reason to be tight with Steven through the end of the game. So he had to know that Spencer and Tasha were coming for him at some point. I think maybe he got into a situation where he may have made his move too late to begin with, and he was just in bad shape. I mean, we essentially saw him voted out twice in this episode, so he might have just been in a position where, he was on the wrong side of it no matter what. He had let the numbers get too big on both sides. Part of that out of his control, but part of it just poor play, quite frankly. I'm not sure there was anything he could have done because he just seemed so much more behind than everyone else in that situation. I think if you look at somebody like Jeremy, who, was aligned directly with Steven, his closest ally, we think at least, Jeremy's name was never even brought up as a potential boot. So I think Steven was, he had a big bullseye on his back from the moment they hit the merge.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I feel like it's unfortunate because we all want to see Steven do well, but I feel like regardless of what Steven would have done, advantage or no advantage, he was going to have that target on his back this season. And I think it's impressive in itself that he made it to this far into the game. I think that was great. I did not expect Steven to come in 9th place. I would have imagined he was going to be a pre-merge boot. And I think that's just a testament to how good of a player of this game Stephen Fishback really is. Now, Steven was blindsided in the second hour of this episode, Kos, and this is probably the closest we will ever get to seeing Rob Cesternino play Survivor again. So I enjoyed it while it lasted. It was a fun ride, and this might be the last time we do see one of the know-it-alls back on the show. With Steven getting blindsided, though, at that previous tribal council, how do you think he let himself get blindsided again? Because, as you said, he did essentially get voted out twice in this episode.
Yeah, I think he trusted Spencer way too much. And after Spencer has written your name down with the RHAP bell on it, you are 100% sure that Spencer voted for you. How are you trusting him again? I mean, you can talk about these power clusters all you want, but there's a reason that Spencer wrote his name down. And I think you have to know in the back of your head, okay, whether it's this vote or 2 votes down the line or whatever, Spencer's coming for me. And I think he just had a total blind spot about that. And when he told him about his advantage, I think that was it, because that gave Spencer the opportunity to maneuver around that and figure out a way to oust him anyway. And I think Steven just completely missed the fact that Spencer was coming for him this entire time.
Yeah, and we saw Steven tweet that out this week after the episode, talking about, I trusted Spencer too much and all this kind of stuff. I just found it interesting because I felt like, like you mentioned, he voted for him once already. So if someone's already writing your name down, and I mean, you don't have to go all Abby Maria on people when they write your name down, but at the same time, that's a sign. Someone voted you out. They wanted to get rid of you, and you're not. I mean, for whatever reason, he was just blinded by that. I guess it was. Who knows how tight they really were before this season, Kos? I don't know. But obviously there was a friendship there. And, hopefully this does not go the Lex and Boston Rob route.
No.
But it just sucks. And I mean, that's the problem with these all-star seasons, right? Is these people come in with pre-existing relationships, and, certain people leverage that into making certain moves in the game when people aren't expecting it. People get blindsided like Steven. And yeah, it's just disappointing. I was sad. I was hoping that the RHAP Dream Alliance of Steven and Spencer was going to roll all the way through the game together, but that wasn't realistic, of course. So I figured at some point one of them was going to get their torch snuffed. But
I think Spencer was very smart to do it, though. I mean, if you're looking at who is the bigger threat here, I think Steven, as awkward as he is, as neurotic as he can be at times, he's still a big threat. And I think I was somebody that said I think he's getting a losing finalist edit. I think he's going to lose to Jeremy. Clearly, I was way off on that, but I still think Steven, if he's sitting at the final tribal council, even if he doesn't necessarily deserve all the credit, I think he gets more just because he bills himself as a know-it-all and he's this brainy guy who's terrible in challenges. I think people look at that and say, well, wow, Steven got to the end. He must have gotten there on his own through strategic gameplay. And I think Spencer was smart to cut him now and say, I'm going to be the strategist. And, Spencer's still not in control, if you want to call it that, which is a great plan on his part. I think this was the perfect time to get rid of Steven. I can't believe he got 2 shots at this. And so the fact that he got 2 shots and one of them worked is huge for him. I think Spencer's in a pretty damn good position now.
And it almost didn't work the second one. I mean, if Steven puts 2 votes on Joe, then it's completely different. What did you think about, was that really an egregious error on Steven's part? Because I had a lot of conversations with my fellow reality TV degenerate friends, if you will. I was talking to the Ginger Ninja texted me after that episode. Again, this is a theme that is of this podcast every week, is the Ginger Ninja sending me text messages. I should become I should be like Spencer, screenshotting his combos with Tony Vlachos and posting these on Twitter. But yeah, Ginger Ninja was texting me and he's like, bro, that was the dumbest move I've ever seen, man. Like, his move was way dumber than yours. And then like Sarah Hanlon, the winner of my season of Big Brother Canada, for those of you who are not familiar, she texted me saying, oh yeah, like, Fishbacks was way worse than you because he got blindsided twice, all this stuff. And I said, no, guys, I mean, Steven didn't ask for it. I mean, he didn't say, hey guys, come please vote me out. And then threw the immunity challenge and then subsequently got voted out. No, that didn't happen. He just but I don't really know else what happened here though. Was it him overthinking this too much? Like what do you think the rationale was behind the vote split idea here, Kos?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I think we see a lot, and I laugh at the complaints about this because a couple of weeks ago when Kelly Wentworth should have gone and idled herself, everybody was saying, oh my God, how do you not split the votes? And this week, everybody's saying, oh my God, how do you split the votes? I think people, tend to have a results-oriented point of view. I'm not sure if Steven should have split the votes. My guess is he should not have. Everything they were saying, though, seems to be that everyone thought Joe had an idol. And he was digging for it all the time. He was out there for hours, days, weeks looking for it. So I get that they thought it was him, but if you are that scared of it, there's nothing wrong with taking a shot at someone else. And I get that, people say, oh my God, we got to get Joe out. It's the first time he lost an immunity challenge. I don't buy it. I think you keep Joe in the game, and maybe that would be my downfall in Steven's spot. But I think he was so fixated on Joe that he kind of forgot Joe is an excellent buffer for him. And as long as Joe is in the game, people aren't looking at Steven. And I think if he would have been not as focused on Joe and more focused on how do I get to a point where I'm in the final 5 and Joe is the target or whatever, I think you bank on him. If he wins 9 out of 10 immunities, I say that's fine. In this season where we have voting blocks and everything, let somebody win 9 out of 10 challenges. If that's enough to beat me as the lead strategist of the season, I'm fine with that. But I want to go down swinging as a strategist, taking control of this game. And if people value challenge prowess over that, good for them. But I think he was so fixated on, oh my God, if Joe gets to the end, he automatically wins. I don't know if that's necessarily true. And I think he definitely had a blind spot. And that's partly why he got into this position of we have to split and get Joe out at the first possible opportunity. I don't think that's the correct move.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think, this idea of having tunnel vision, just thinking, okay, this is the guy or this is the girl, whoever, I'm going for this person no matter what. I've got my chance to take a shot. I'm going to take it right now. That's really, it's a huge mistake to make in one of these games. It really is. I mean, it happened to me, happened to Steven. It just doesn't work. You're not thinking straight. You just you get this idea in your head. You're so focused on getting rid of one person. And then it just leaves opportunities open for it to blow up in your face. People take advantage of that. People know what you're doing. And yeah, it's just not good. In terms of this advantage, Kos, is there anything? So would you say the best move for Steven would have been to just take those 2 votes and vote for someone else and not target Joe at all? Like, how would you have used that? Because we've seen it twice now. I mean, we've seen Dan Foley in Worlds of Parties getting the double vote. That blows up in his face, and he goes home that tribal council. Steven gets the advantage, the vote steal advantage at this tribal council. He goes home in the exact same tribal council. So, what are these guys doing wrong here?
I think it's just a basic misunderstanding of how these advantages work and how people perceive it when you have an advantage. I think anything you're getting, whether it's an immunity idol or a steal vote or a double vote or whatever, it's a reason for people to vote you out. And more than anything else, when you're getting that in public, it gives people a reason. And I think Boston Rob said this really well on his 4th season. He doesn't care what people bond over or whatever, whether it's Oreo cookies or anything like that. And that's the approach. It's people have a reason to vote you out when you give them one. And having an advantage, whether it's absolutely worthless or the greatest advantage in the world, it's something for people to point to and say, Steven has an advantage. We have to get this out. People aren't thinking, well, his advantage isn't that powerful or anything. It's just he has something I don't. Now, I think the move, in my opinion, is probably when you get these advantages to just burn them quickly. And it's not because that's the best way to utilize it. It's more, if you have it, you know what it is, and no one else will get it. They're not going to throw in 2 of these double votes in a season. So I think it's good to get the advantage, give it to everybody and say, I'm using it tonight. It's going to be worthless to me, but you're just burning it. It's similar to Gabon when they threw away the immunity idol. It's let's take the variables out of play. Let's not give people a reason to target me. If you're confident in your game, you shouldn't need a double vote to begin with. So just know what the commodity is, get rid of it, and then you can be in good shape from there. But it's something that Steven clearly did not need. He had the advantage at this vote. The only reason he used it was so he could split the vote. He was looking too much at, how do I make this a super fancy play? As a poker player, we call this fancy play syndrome of, what's the big badass move I can make? And that's not always the best approach. Sometimes the best approach is let's throw 6 votes on Joe, period. And I think he just got a little bit too much in his head, overthinking it. Probably should have just burned the advantage, told everyone what it was, and just thrown it in the trash, basically.
Yeah, I think that's probably the way to go, at least based on how we've seen these advantages play out so far. In the future, Kos, what would you like to see from these advantages? Because they have been duds so far, and I imagine on Survivor 32, we're probably going to see another one of these things. It filmed before Cambodia filmed, so we're probably going to see another one, and who knows how that one is going to go. But let's say hypothetically that flames out as well. Do you think that there's anything that can be done to salvage this type of advantage in the game?
Yeah, I think you use it after the votes and after immunity idols can be played. I think that's the more interesting part. When you're announcing it before the vote, I think it gives people too much information. As we saw in season 30, when Dan used his, it was a signal to Carolyn of, I'm in trouble. I have to play my idol. And so as soon as Dan played it, he was done. I mean, if Carolyn had any sense in her head. And I think when you have to play it before the vote, before everybody casts their vote, it's very easy for people to maneuver around that. I mean, we already saw people in this episode planning ahead of, if Steven plays his idol in the first vote, let's put 2 votes on Kimmy. So people are already strategizing around these things. I think if you make it sort of like it didn't happen, the votes have been cast, the immunity idols have or have not been played. Now you can use your advantage. It doesn't give people a chance to react to that. And I think that's how you salvage these twists. But I think as of right now, they are almost a disadvantage just because of the way they're set up. When you have them before the vote, before immunity idols, people have time to react and counter that. And that's what we've seen so far. That's why it's 0-2.
So do you think it would be too unfair to maybe, instead of having idols hidden, or in addition to having idols hidden somewhere at camp, having these advantages hidden in camp, and then on top of that, having the rule of, okay, you announce it after the votes and idols have come out of play?
Yeah, I don't hate that. I mean, I think you can do it any number of ways, whether it's hiding it, putting them in the auction, anything like that. I would really like to see at some point the idea of, we have the family visit, you can get an advantage, but you have to take everyone's family members and remove them so no one gets to see them. Something like that, but have people stick their necks out for these as opposed to, I hate the thing of this is a reward challenge and I got a clue for the idol because I picked up this particular piece of, the answer. I just don't like that. I think either have it be something that you find through hard work or have it be something that you have to sacrifice for.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, because I mean, really, yeah, we'll get into the Kelly Wentworth idol in a little bit, but and I love Kelly Wentworth, so I'm glad she got it. But at the same time, yeah, it's completely random, and yeah, I mean, it could have easily been Abby Maria or Keith Nail or someone else getting it, and then it just wouldn't have been fun if someone like that had the idol. No offense to them, but just yeah. So one other thing, a couple other things I want to talk about with Steven before we can. Move on to a couple other questions I've got for you before we jump into the questions part of the show. That is the reward challenge. Okay, is there any upside at all? Kos, like what is the upside to, like, why would you go out and win an individual reward challenge like Steven did at that point?
None. I don't think there is any. I think it's a definite disadvantage, and it's a little better now that they're doing these stupid team challenges, but when they were individual challenges or anytime you get to pick one or two people, I think it's always a disadvantage. And it's easy for me to say watching from the comfort of my couch and, I'm not freezing cold and, I haven't eaten in 30 days, that kind of thing. I get why they want it, but I don't buy the thing that Steven and Sierra are telling us that, oh, this is where you build bonds. I think if you can't build bonds at your own camp, the reward is not doing that for you. Okay. If you can't get privacy, then you need to be doing a better job of that. But I think the rewards are really only there to say, these are the people that are aligned. This is why Steven is taking Tasha and Jeremy. Well, now they're clearly a block. Let's get rid of them. I think anytime you're winning a reward challenge, you're putting that target on your back or giving away information to people. I'm very much a proponent of Colin Stone's always be throwing, especially in reward challenges. I don't think, if you look through history, how many times has someone won a game because they went on a reward challenge? It's very few or none. How many times have they lost because they've gone on it? Countless times. So I think the best move is to not win any reward challenges ever.
I think that's a fair statement, and I would agree with you 100%. I think that, yeah, if you're thinking rationally, if you're out there, and again, that's what it really comes down to. A lot of these people get cast on Survivor because they're impulsive people, and in fairness, yeah, I mean, if you're starving and hungry and you're getting rained on and you're if people are calling you poopy pants like Abby Maria to Steven, you're going to, you're going to want some comfort. You're going to want to win one of those. So I understand why. But I think that if these people were thinking in the right frame of mind, never would you be going for one of these reward challenges, at least the individual ones. The team ones, I think it's a little different because you got a team, you're not singling people out, that sort of thing. But just the individual reward challenges, those can be a huge detriment, as we saw with Steven this week. And we'll see moving forward. I feel like that's something that could easily happen again before this season is over and done with, especially with all these voting blocks and everything.
Let me just make one more point about that, because I think it sort of combines with the vote splitting that we were talking about, or using idols, or my favorite is drawing rocks. I think there's just a general misunderstanding of equity, and people look at this as, I need to eat or I need time with this person, but everything you do in the game, whether it's getting up and going to the bathroom at some point in the night, it's like there's always some sort of equity change where when you leave camp for 3 hours, things are going to change back at camp. And that's just a given. You see that every time they go on these rewards, things happen back at camp of, hey, we're here, we should do this. And I think people look too much at what is the immediate result and not as, how does this change my equity in the game? I mean, I think Jeff Varner is a good example of someone who came in and said, I am never drawing rocks in this game. And I think that's a terrible approach. I mean, I get it, but I think people are too focused on controlling the game or not losing it, as opposed to, does this increase or decrease my equity in the game? I mean, it's the same reason that, if you watch Jeopardy, people bet $100 on a daily double when they're like 70% to get the question right. It's the same reason that people punt in football on 4th and 1. It's people want to not lose. They're not playing to win. And so there are moves that you can make that increase your win equity, such as losing a reward challenge on purpose. And people just are not taking those advantages. They don't understand equity in that way. And I think that's ultimately why people like even a Stephen Fishback, who's very smart, gets caught in these bad positions.
I love that term equity. I think it coming from, I figured it would be out at some point, and we're talking to a poker guy here. But yes, I think it's an excellent point. I think, and as a great Herm Edwards once said, you play to win the game. And if you're playing to win the game, I mean, though you want to be increasing your equity throughout. You don't want to be playing scared. And at the same token, you don't want to be like super aggressive and reckless because you're like, oh, I'm playing to win. That's not necessarily playing to win. But yes, losing reward challenges like this. I'm trying to think, maybe not going for advantages like Steven went for. Those sorts of things, they slowly are increasing your equity in terms of winning the game, your percentage of chance of winning this thing. So I totally think that's a thing. And yeah, it's the immediate thing. It's okay, if I do this, it's going to get me this and it's going to buy me 3 more days or whatever. Sure, that's great, but if you're going to get voted out right after that, that doesn't really buy you anything. So I mean, it goes both ways. You don't want to be too much thinking about, okay, I'm only thinking about the win here, but at the same time, you don't only want to be thinking, all right, I need to just, I just need to last a few more days. It's somewhere in between is where you want to be thinking. Because if you're thinking too far ahead, then that isn't the greatest thing either. But I think that's an excellent point. And I think that's something that people certainly need to keep in mind. And I think that goes back to, the Jeremy playing the idle thing for Steven. I think that's a move where he's playing to win the game. Now, in hindsight is 2020. Now it's like, oh wow, people are saying, oh, Jeremy, what a stupid move. Why did Jeremy do that? Well, Jeremy's playing to win the game. And I think that if that is the rationale in terms of making that decision, I'm totally cool with that decision. It worked out to be wrong, but certainly could have potentially been a game-winning decision for him had things gone differently for him. And who knows? I mean, Jeremy could still win the game.
And they did have, coming into the final 9, they did have 5 people because of that. They had Steven, Jeremy, Tasha, Spencer, and Kimmy. So from his point of view, it made sense to potentially lock that down versus keeping Sierra instead. So I think there's at least, you can argue it from Jeremy's point of view for sure.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about one. I've been waiting to ask you this question. I've wanted to talk about Steven a little bit first, Kos, but you appeared on the Dom and Colin podcast in the preseason. You guys did that auction draft, which I loved, by the way. It's fantasy football style, which I really enjoy. I love the fantasy football, so that was really cool. And on that podcast, you said that Stephen Fishback is one of the greatest players of all time. You said, early in this podcast, you said that other than Steven, maybe Suri, those are the 2 people that you would throw them into any scenario and you trust that they would make the right decision most of the time. So now that he's finished in 10th or 9th, I guess, on Survivor Cambodia, how do you feel about his Survivor legacy moving forward?
I don't really have a major change in how I view Steven. I was a little disappointed that he didn't seem to build as many relationships as he did last time. But I think that is partly because this season is playing out with so many people who are thinking strategically and, they're playing for themselves, not for their alliance. I still think he put himself in decent positions at times. And I always said that for the most part, I would not dock someone for how they played on an all-star season as a known commodity. I think, playing your first time is really what I'm talking about. And I think Steven is excellent in terms of how he relates to people, how he thinks about the game. If you're dropping him into a random season where no one has ever seen him play before, even as his first time, I'm not giving him credit for the knowledge of 2 times played now. I think he's one of the best, one of the people I would trust most with my life in the game. So I don't know that it's changed much. I still think Steven's probably one of the 4, 5, 6 best players of all time. He made some mistakes in this game, but so is everyone. This season, we're not seeing anyone play a flawless game, so I don't really hold that against him. I still think he's an absolute top-tier Survivor player.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that a lot of people might say, oh, well, how can you say that he finished in 9th and then he didn't even win? But you know what? Again, people are very results-oriented with a lot of these things. And some people say, oh, well, Sandra Diaz Twine played the game twice. She won twice. She's the best player ever. Well, yeah, but I mean, if Sandra played 100 times, would she win 100 times? I don't think so. If she played 1,000 times, would she win? I don't think she would.
She'd win about 2 out of 1,000.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like maybe 1 or 2 more times, if that. But that's a huge thing. Whereas, yeah, Steven, you give him a chance on a random season 100 times. I think it's looking very good for him. So yeah, I'm with you in that mind frame as well. Now, I've got a follow-up question to that about Steven's legacy. And this one comes from Edward Morris in the Rob Has a Podcast patron Facebook group. And if you want to become a patron of Rob Has a Podcast or learn more about the benefits of that, you can go to robhasawebsite.com/patron. And he says, hey, Kos, whose stock in the greatest Survivor players of all time poll has dropped the most as a result of this season?
Dropped the most? I mean, I think there's a lot of people whose stock has dropped, but if we're talking about people in the real top tier, I'm not sure there is anyone. I mean, we had Spencer up there, and I think Spencer's actually playing a better game this time around. I'm trying to think who actually would be very high up that would even have a reason to drop, but I honestly can't think of anyone. I think maybe you could say Tasha. I think she finished fairly high, just outside the top 20. I don't know that her performance has been that great so far, but I don't know if the people that are left in the game, I'm not sure anyone is necessarily tainting their legacy at this point. I think you're seeing some people definitely boost theirs significantly. Kelly Wentworth and Jeremy both, I think, people who were afterthoughts are now looked at, I would think at least, as playing, in my opinion, the 2 best games so far. So, I think there's really no one that would drop, but I think there's plenty of people that are very much on the rise.
So, and I was going to ask you, the flip to that question was whose stock has risen the most. I was going to say, obviously, I think Kelly Wentworth's has risen the most. Jeremy Collins right there as well. Beyond those two, anyone else that's really standing out to you as their stock really rising in the ranks for you?
Well, obviously, Abby Maria is a fantastic player. Great.
Yeah, you got to move her up, definitely. Otherwise, you're dead to her. We don't want that, Kos.
I think Spencer is justifying his placement now. I think he got a lot of credit last time because he was a very likable guy. But based on what we saw the first time, I did not think he belonged in the top 20. I think he certainly has the potential to be there. And if you go back and listen to that same auction podcast, I said he should turn down the invite for the season. I think he could be the first one out. Clearly, I'm a moron. He's played very well. I'm incredibly impressed that he is still there, and he's in great position to potentially win this thing. I think he's someone who maybe isn't jumping up the way that was ranked, but I think he's justifying his position there.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think, a lot of people thought, Spencer didn't really do too much. And I think even Spencer himself might have said that he was a little too high. So I'm with you. I'm blown away by how well Spencer Bledsoe is playing this season. He's doing a great job, and I'm excited to see where he goes next because he certainly has. He's getting a little bit of that winner's edit. He's got that upside, and I would not be shocked if a few weeks from now, or Jeff Probst is reading out Spencer, the winner of Survivor Cambodia, and he wins. I mean, that would be
0% chance to win the game. Yes.
Yeah, that would be pretty nuts if that were to happen. If Jeff once said he had 0% chance to win, and then he goes on to win. That would be a pretty cool thing. Now going back to that podcast you did with Dom and Colin, you were talking about Spencer should decline coming to the season. You think he's a great player, but this time you don't really feel so great about him. Why do you think Spencer has been able to avoid, or I should say, how do you think Spencer has been able to avoid having his torch snuffed so far?
I think it's partly luck. I mean, I think he was in a position where he probably should have been the second boot again. We saw that last time. We saw it again this time. But since then, and by the way, at that point, I was thinking, gosh, I'm such a genius. Like, Spencer's going to be the next one out. I'm so on the money. But he has played incredibly well. And, they give him this narrative of, I'm trying to build relationships and all that. I don't know if that's necessarily the reason. I think he's more shown himself to be a useful cog in one of these voting blocks. And as someone who is rational, understands the game on a strategic level, I think he figured out that if I bond with somebody like Jeremy or somebody like Steven, they will see the value in me. They will have value to me. It's alliance that makes sense. So I think his basic understanding of that and figuring out who to align with is the biggest reason he's here. And give credit to him, because not only did he figure out that Steven is a good person to align with, but then he figured out this is a great time to stab him. He's fulfilled his usefulness to me. He is now useless. I'm going to throw him away. And he did it perfectly. So I think that's a big reason why he's in such a great position right now.
Do you think Spencer is in the best position in the game right now?
I think Kelly Wentworth is in the best position right now. I think the way that she has flipped the game around, I think she's in a slightly better position. But I think the two of them, especially now that they are together, if you look at how this last vote went, they now have 4 people who should be locked in. I think they could run this down to 4. I don't think that's what will happen, but I think if I was sitting out there and I saw those 4, I'd say, hey, let's go pick up Kimmy. We'll get rid of her at some point. I think they're in an excellent position. And now the question will be, when does Kelly come after Spencer and when does Spencer come after Kelly? But I think they're both in pretty good positions where it's just going to be who strikes first, and whoever does it is in potentially a good spot to win the game.
So if we're going to have to guess, who do you think is going to be the first person to take that shot, Kos? Because right now, based on what we've already seen Spencer do it. We have also seen early on in the game, Kelly was tight with Shireen and Spencer, and she was willing to flip on them as soon as it just wasn't beneficial to her anymore. So both of them are willing to throw people under the bus. So if you had to guess right now, who do you think is going to be the first one to take that shot?
I think Kelly. I think Kelly will take it as soon as she sees the opportunity, whether it's the next vote or the one after that. But I think it makes sense for her because she can take out Jeremy first. And, you know, maybe Jeremy uses his second idol to save himself. But I think the position that Kelly is in, it's easy for her to now point at Tasha, Spencer, and Jeremy and say, hey, everybody else, let's go after them. And it's great because Kelly is the type of person who wins these seasons. I did say that Steven was my pick, but I said after that if he doesn't win, Kelly is my pick, and this is exactly why. She is non-threatening. She's already built a really good resume, but who is looking at this and saying, we have to get Kelly Wentworth out of this game? Everybody's saying Spencer's now the big target or Jeremy's now the big target. Kelly is someone who can take control without it being obvious, and I think that's ultimately what puts her in a good position because if you're Kimmy, do you want to sit there with Spencer at the end or do you want to sit with Kelly? And it's an easy pitch for Kelly to make to those people. If I'm not a threat, you're not a threat. Let's vote out the threats.
Yeah, it's an excellent point. I think that she can, and that's why Kelly Wentworth is so good is because, and I talked about this in the first episode recap of the season I did with Haley Strong, and we were talking about how Kelly Wentworth she's an amazing at any one thing. But she's very, very good at a lot of things. And she can kind of fit into all these. She can fit in with your Kimmys, and she can also fit in with like your Spencers. She can kind of flip-flop and maneuver herself amongst this cast. And I think that that's a huge advantage that she has. And that's a really good point you brought up, though, too, as well, is that people like Kimmy and Keith Nail, they're not going to be scared of going to the end with Kelly Wentworth. But they should be scared of going to the end with her because she is going to crush them in the final 3 if she's sitting next to them. However, they're not really realizing that right now. So I think that's really huge. And you mentioned Jeremy, you mentioned Spencer. I think Joe being in the game as still and being aligned with her is huge as well because that's another person who is in front of her that's going to go home before her unless he goes on. He goes on to win all of these immunities the rest of the way, which I guess is possible. I just don't really foresee that happening, but I guess you never really know. What do you think about that, Kos? Do you think what's the narrative we see in which Joe Anglem wins this season?
I don't think there is one. I think we would have seen it now. I mean, I think his path to the end is winning the remaining 5 immunity challenges, which I don't see happening. I had this a discussion the other day with Dom and Gary Wise, and they both said, if Joe sweeps the rest of the immunities, he is going to win. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I think if, let's say, the hypothetical scenario of Kelly, Joe, and a random third person, this is a season that's been all about strategy. You have more strategists or whatever you want to call them than we've ever had before. You're telling me that somebody like Steven or Spencer or Jeremy or Sierra, you think they're going to care about challenges as opposed to who controlled the strategic game? I don't think so. I think those 4 votes could very well be banked for Kelly if she's sitting next to Joe. She could get Abby if Abby is on the jury. That's already 5, which is enough to at least force a tie. I think Kelly is very smart to be sticking with Joe for that reason, because she can say, hey, Joe, I'm with you. You're with me. If she has to cut him down the line, she can. But if she sits next to him at the end, I think she would have a pretty good chance of beating him. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm not drinking the Joe Kool-Aid like everyone else. But I think even if he wins 9 out of 10 challenges, she would have a really good shot to beat him. In fact, I actually think it's better for him to win 9 than it is for him to win 7 in that scenario, because then he could say, well, 3 votes, I had to save myself through social game, where if he wins 9, Kelly can get there and say, he was only available to be voted out of this game once, and I kept him around because I wanted to make a big move and take out a bigger threat.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I just think with Joe, I think that if he's against a lot of different people, I think he does happen to win 9 immunities, I think he is going to win. And I think that, yeah, against Kelly Wentworth, I think she can certainly argue her case. I think if it's against Jeremy, he can argue his case as well. But if he's sitting against, I don't know, I mean, I guess it depends on who he's up against. Although if we look at it right now, I mean, is he really going to be with Keith Nail and Abby Maria and or Kimmy Kattenberg? Probably not, because there's bound to be some sort of strategist or someone who's actually, controlling things a little bit in that final 3. So we'll see what happens. But I do think that, I don't know, we've never seen 9 out of 10 immunities. I think that's got to be worth something. And I think even someone like Steven might respect that a lot. And especially for Steven, I think, he talked about how Joe is like his Moby Dick. He's this great white whale that he wants to get rid of. I think that he might, tip his cap and be like, you know what, Joe, you won 9 out of 10. There's nothing I could have done to beat you. Here's my vote. You win the game. Here's $1 million. I could see that happening. I think the final tribal council is going to be a huge thing. We've never seen Joe in that situation, but I don't know. And I think another thing too, the upside of winning 9 out of 10 immunities is, you're not really looked at as a person who's screwing a lot of people over. I feel like if Kelly is getting to the end, she's going to have to screw over some people at some point. She already has. Same with Jeremy, Spencer, Tasha, any of these people if they get there as well. So I think that's the one thing that could be the equalizer in terms of, or the thing that pushes Joe over the top is, people being like, oh, well, okay, you get to vote for this person or this person, or there's this guy, this golden boy who won all these immunities, which is amazing. And not only that, but he didn't really vote any of us out. He didn't screw us over. It's kind of in my head, I'm thinking of it as similar to, if Ozzy would have been in that final tribal council in Survivor South Pacific, right? I think that he probably would have won that game. At least he would have had a good shot, because people, when they were going out, they were feeling good about him, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. That's how I'm looking at it. We'll see what happens. I hope you're right. I hope people respect the strategy. I hope that's how people are thinking. But I just feel like, I don't know. We've never seen someone do that before, going on such a legendary run. And I think that people are going to really respect that. But time will tell. I hope we see it, Kos. I really hope we do, because that'll be a really fun final tribal council.
It would be. I mean, it would be very similar to Yul and Ozzy the first time, of which thing do you value? And I agree with your points. Like, I'm very open to the idea that I could be completely wrong and Joe could win 10-0. But I do think that in this season, I don't think we're going to see a bitter jury. I think people are very okay with getting outplayed. We're seeing that a lot. When Sierra goes out, she says, well played to Jeremy. When Steven goes out, he's got a big smile on his face. I don't think we're going to see people be bitter this time. And I think there's enough people that are strategic minded that I think we could see challenge prowess not be the biggest key when they're casting their final vote.
And I hope that's right, because that would be awesome to get one of these full out all-star seasons with a jury that is not bitter in any way whatsoever, and they make the correct decision at the end of the season, because we've seen it twice and it just has not been fun. We don't like that. So yeah, I think that's a valid point, because I don't know if you've been watching the Ponderosa videos, but I mean, we saw this week, I mean, Sierra was totally cool with everything. Steven was totally cool with everything, at least for the most part. I mean, we saw, Savage and Kelly Kelly Wigglesworth were not the feeling super warm towards Sierra when she first came, but I mean, whatever, that's fine.
Nobody cares about Savage, so it doesn't matter. See, if I was in the final tribal council, I would want Savage to vote against me. It's like, you and Cass, please argue against me winning the game. That way everyone else will hate you and vote for me out of spite. So, yeah.
Oh man, I remember. Okay, if you guys haven't, you should go back and listen to. And we've talked about it multiple times, but that preseason podcast with Dom and Colin, you guys doing that auction draft, and you were talking about Andrew Savage, and you just went on this huge rant about him. And I had just gotten out of the Big Brother Canada house, and I was listening to that, and I thought, Was Savage really that terrible? Was he really that bad and such a terrible guy and that much of an idiot? And then and I watched the season and first episode I was like,
Yep.
all right, Kos was right. He was 100% right. You called it. And I mean, I hadn't watched Pearl Islands in a couple of years, so I think that might have had something to do with it. But that was hilarious. I remember hearing that analysis. So well done by you, Kos. I mean, you didn't get the Steven thing right, but you were spot on with Andrew Savage.
I'll take one thing. And my favorite part of that whole podcast, too, if you go back and listen to it, is Dom told me that Abby Marie had a chance to win this game. So, hi, Dom. Good call.
Oh man! And then how much did Colin spend on T-Bird too? Didn't he spend like $40 or $50?
Oh, it was. I think it was like 60, and I would make fun of him, except I was the one being against him. So,
so there you go. And I mean, another story for another day. But I mean, oh man, T-Bird was on this season. I think that would have been amazing. But
absolutely.
Yeah. Oh well. Hopefully someday on Second Chances too, we'll get to see that. But you know what? We've been talking for about an hour here. So if you guys, for you in the chat, if you guys want to hop in and come on camera and ask Kos and I some questions, we can get into the episode and talk about some things that we haven't talked about yet. Or you can also leave a question in the comments. You can just type in /Q and then we can get into it there. And before that happens, though, Kos, I want to ask you as well one other thing. Abby Maria, I think this week we saw Abby Maria. She was back. I mean, we saw a little bit of purple Abby Maria for a few weeks there. She wasn't really too involved in the episodes, but as of late, she's getting more and more involved here, all over the place. I mean, watching Steven try to reason with her, and then watching Spencer trying to keep it together when he's talking to Abby. That was gold. I mean, that was so funny. He's just like his eyes, and he's like looking. He's like, "No, we're not voting you out." That was just great. I love that so much. But
you can just tell that they're all sitting there thinking, "Why did we leave her in the game? This is the completely irrational person that we had to get out if we want to play this game." And she's screwing everything up for everyone. It's outstanding, though. That's why I love seeing her on this season.
Oh, it's great. I mean, yeah, it totally throws a wrench into things. She's great television, and what can we say? Abby Marie's great to watch on TV. Not great for strategy, and should be annoying to play with because you don't know where her head is at any given moment. But yeah, I mean that was fantastic watching that, and it's just so entertaining. But at some point, her numbers are bound to be called here. So when do you think it's going to be time's up for Abby Maria? When do you think that's going to happen?
I'm not sure it will happen necessarily, but if it does, it's whenever Kelly Wentworth decides that. I think she's the one, and I got to give her major credit because no one else has been able to control Abby Maria in 2 seasons, and Kelly is doing an amazing job of it. She just goes to her and says, "Hey, we're blindsiding Steven tonight," and gets her on board. I think Kelly really is controlling Abby's vote, which we've never seen before. I'm super impressed by that. So I think Abby could very well be in the final 3.
Yeah, I can totally see it too. I think that maybe we'll see, Joe, Kelly, Abby. That could be something, or Kelly, Abby, and I don't know, someone else. Who knows? But I'm with you. I mean, I've been talking about. I feel like this is a very common theme throughout my podcast. Is talking, hey, when's Abby Maria going home? Because I feel like it's like, how are these people dealing with her? And it's been very impressive that they are putting up with her. But yeah, I think that she certainly is somebody. If you're Kelly Wentworth, that you want to drag to the end. And yeah, huge props to Kelly Wentworth for controlling her. And because you're right, nobody's done. Maybe Pete Yurkowski did.
I guess he is controlling her still. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, like other than that, I think that Kelly Wentworth is really the only person. And for whatever reason, Abby Maria really trusts Kelly, and that's great. And again, goes to how good and how strong of a player that Kelly Wentworth is. And I'm super pumped that she got to come back and play this season, because if I would have been home and I would have been watching, the preseason voting and all those sorts of things, it would have been like me during Miss Survivor this year, where I was thinking, oh, okay, Kelly Wentworth is in. I hope she wins. She better win, but probably not going to win. And sure enough, she did not win. And I thought, okay, same thing for this. She's on the ballot, great, but probably not going to get in. I imagine that was probably the general feeling amongst people in the community, right, Kos? I don't know. I wasn't around.
I think so. Colin praised her to the hills, and I think several of us thought she had serious potential, but we never saw that. And I think The fact that she's been so good with marketing herself and everything is a big reason why she got on the show to begin with. But, she's killing it. I think she's playing the best game, and she's been super interesting to watch on TV too. They did a great job bringing her back.
Yeah, excellent job. And, it's too bad because I wish Farm Guy 69 could have come back too, because I love Dale. But Kelly's doing a pretty good, damn good job. And I'm glad that we got that at least. Maybe we'll get Dale on Survivor Second Chances too. Or maybe when Nicole Sesternino is casting a season, then we'll see Dale on the season. I don't know if you, there's probably 3 people who saw Rob's Periscope before the season, the night before the premiere, and he asked Nicole who's on the season, and she thought Dale was on. It was pretty funny. Yeah. But let's take this question from Ari Ferrari, and there aren't a lot of questions, Kos, so we might have to wrap this thing up shortly. Taryn Armstrong sending out the bat signal to you, my friend, if you want to join us. The unofficial co-host of the RHAPpy Hour, if you want to come on. I did see Taryn in here earlier, so maybe he'll show up. Oh,
get in here, Taz.
There he is. So Taryn's hopping in. So Taryn's going to join us. Taryn, how you doing?
Good. Hold on. I still got to set up the.
Okay, so he's going to fix his mic. Okay, so his mic is not attached. So he's got the little XLR connection messed up. It's a little. Anyway, let's take this question here first from Ari Ferrari. So, Kos, this one says, legit question. With Steven being voted out this early in the season, what was the show trying to tell us about him and his story? Knowing the result, it does feel like the season focused way too much on him. Yeah, what do you think about that, Kos?
So I was thinking about this, and he obviously has like one of the weirdest edits we've ever seen, but I don't know about you guys. Maybe I'm just biased as a huge Steven fan, but I thought his arc was like one of the most compelling we've seen in recent memory. I thought he was the total breakout character of the show, not strategist or anything. He was the most fascinating character, with all due respect to Jeff Farmer. And I think maybe they just wanted Steven on TV with all his emotional moments. There was so much gold that they left in, and they left in the awkward coach poem and everything else. I think maybe it's just Steven is really good on TV. We didn't know that beforehand, and now we do, and let's just throw everything we can at the screen and see what sticks. But I loved it. I thought he was absolutely the breakout character of the season.
I think that's, for sure. I don't think, I didn't see that coming into this season. I didn't think we would get a lot of that from him, and we really did. And maybe, who knows why the show really took that approach? I mean, and I guess it's kind of hard. There are 3 people talking here right now that are huge Steven Fishback fans. So if we could have maybe someone from that didn't like Steven, we could get their perspective on it. But yeah, I think certainly Steven was a huge character. We really got to see that this season. And I think maybe also too, I think there was that, and there was probably, who knows what the actual votes were for this season in terms of who had the most. But I imagine Steven was up there. And I feel like the fans really they wanted to show the fans, hey, this is the guy you voted for. That's why we're getting a lot of Spencer as well. Taryn, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think Steven's story this season is one of the best arcs we've seen in a long time. Definitely unique. He starts out with the Dodo edit, and then kind of gradually becomes more and more of a threat, to the point where you can see he's just about to grasp the game, and then we get this 2-episode arc that's kind of like the downfall of Steven. I haven't seen this much attention on somebody who went out in 9th place, in a long time. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I think it was great. I think it was a super fun ride, and extremely confusing because and. Now, again, I'm more confused. Maybe, we've said, or we've heard many times this season, oh, well, this is an evolution of the game. This season is, evolving. There's all this stuff. Evolution of the edit, perhaps, on our hands as well. Maybe that is becoming a thing. Who knows? Maybe we're going to walk away in a couple weeks and Keith Nail is the winner of this season. So, anything could happen at this point. If we're getting that edit from Steven, then who knows? Maybe all these huge big dogs are going to take each other out, and then it's going to be Keith and Kimmy and Abby in the final 3. That actually would be very interesting. I think that would be very fun, or not.
Interesting is the right word for sure. Yeah.
I am slightly concerned because last season when Mike got his immunity run, my thought, and I think a lot of people's thoughts, were if they hadn't made it so obvious in the edit, this would have been really cool. If he had just been somebody who was visible in the background, but then just kept winning and winning and winning. this could have been a really cool win. And so I've been thinking, well, obviously Joe doesn't win this game because they'd be focusing way more on him. He's the golden boy. What if they actually listen to us and he's in the background and they're going to do what we wanted them to do with Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I think that certainly could be a thing. And also the other thing with Mike was, and this was before I had even left and I was still at home watching the season live. Jeff tweeted, "You're going to love the winner of this season." I was like, oh, okay, well, it's definitely a guy. And then I came home and I was binging it. And I was like, hey, Mike keeps winning these challenges. I'm 99% sure Mike is winning. And sure enough, he wins the season. So, yeah, I think that would be interesting. Maybe if it was Joe. I mean, Kos, you said you don't seem to think that he can win it at this point. But do you think that, maybe that could be a thing, is that they're trying to throw us off a little bit with how this edit is being laid out for us?
I hope so, because I was one of the biggest proponents of they've completely changed the editing style, starting with Tony's win, where we had this crazy guy who was not edited as a winner, and then here we are, he wins. And then the very next season, Natalie is not at all edited like a winner, and I'm sitting here thinking, they're messing with us, the super fans, on purpose. Like, they've gone out of their way to cut down everything we've learned for 27 seasons, and then they went right back to the same boring well with Mike, and it was a coronation edit for a guy who just won a bunch of challenges. So I'm hoping that that was the fluke, but I don't know. I don't have enough confidence in them, because it's so often that they edit an episode where exactly who's going. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I definitely thought Sierra was going based on the editing of the first episode in this. Yeah. And sometimes they telegraph these things so much. I don't know if I have enough confidence in them to be doing that on a week-to-week basis, but then pull the wool over our eyes for an entire season.
Yeah. I'm with you. It's like a conspiracy theory I have, but I mean, last season, after that edit that Mike got when he found the idol and the music and everything, I was like, "This isn't. Are you really going to do this?" And I had the exact same thing with Jeremy, and I feel like I'm nothing can convince me at this point that Jeremy isn't going to win the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I think that would be great. I mean, Jeremy has played an excellent game. He's done a great job. And now he's had to face a little bit of adversity. So it's going to be exciting if Jeremy is the winner of this season. How exactly is he going to get himself out of this hole? Because right now, I feel like people are going to be gunning for him relatively quickly here.
Yeah, I would absolutely think he was in serious danger right now if he hadn't gotten that edit. Even so, though, there's definitely a chance that Spencer or Kelly. I think they are definitely the other two that have a chance. But I still think Jeremy must be able to find a way out of this, and I think he has the ability to, because he has the connections he needs to be able to say, "Hey, Keith, I know you voted against Steven, but come back to me. You don't want to be there with Spencer. Spencer's just going to win all the challenges. Joe's there too. Like, you need to come back over here, and then you'll be in the family now."
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Maybe I just can't wait to see this episode. And that's why I love this season so much, is I feel like I find myself saying the same thing every week. It's like, all right, I can't wait to see what's happening next, because I got no idea what's going to happen next. I mean, I know that from the preview, there's a family visit that's happening. That's awesome. But other than that, I mean, I have no clue what exactly is going to go down next.
I want to put in the call real quick. We've been talking about this a little bit all season. I think this is the episode where Spencer's girlfriend comes out to see him and he says, "I love you." And I think that could honestly be the end of his arc. I think, a lot of what we've seen from him is just overly positive, and I don't know if it's necessarily a winner's edit. Like, we're not getting a ton. I mean, we're getting strategic confessionals from him, but it's never about I'm controlling this. It's I'm trying to control this. And I think this could be the end of the line for him, where this is the big end for him, where he says, "Oh my God, I love my girlfriend, blah, blah, blah." And he gets this huge episode, and then he's either out this episode or the one after it. I would have him in third after Jeremy and Kelly at this point, just because I think they've gotten more confessionals that, from what we've seen in winners edits in the past, I think they're more comparable than what we've seen from Spencer, who's getting glowing confessionals and, "Oh my God, he caught 3 minnows." I don't know if that's necessarily what we see from a winner.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you there. Ever since the merge, I feel like the only Spencer we've got is from when we need to get Spencer. So when he makes this move, we see a lot of Spencer. But previous to this, we haven't seen a lot of him. Even when he's part of a strategy discussion when they're taking out Wigglesworth, I don't think he even gets a confessional there.
He did. When they took out Wigglesworth, he said, I've never been more. I think he said I've never looked at like an economics or statistics problem and been more confused by it than I am by this. So he did get a confessional there. So I don't know. I could see what you're saying though, and that would be something, Kos. If the family visit, his girlfriend comes, he says I love you, and then he gets voted out. I think that would be holy, my brain would explode. That would be like an amazing episode. And I mean, I would feel so much for Spencer, but I think that would be it would be crazy to watch that. And who knows? I don't know. Do you think his girlfriend's going to come though? Because I feel like if it was me, and I had the choice of I guess it depends on the relationship he has with his girlfriend. But if it was me and I was not at the point of where I said I love you to my girlfriend yet, before I went out there, I feel like I would probably take like my sister or I don't know, a family member before I would take my girlfriend. No.
I'm only saying that because they left that huge scene in the episode, and there was such a point put on it where it was totally out of place. In fact, somebody pointed this out. I think it might have been Rob, that the whole point of him saying that in the first place was to build relationships with people, and then the whole conversation was about, I can't relate to my girlfriend enough to tell her that I love her. So I think it's sort of a growth narrative. I don't think they would have left that in there if she wasn't the one coming out. And I also think Spencer is a smart guy who knows what's good for TV. And if he decided 3 days before he played Survivor, hey, I should tell my girlfriend I love her, it's like, maybe I'll wait until she comes out on the family visit. So I think he's smart enough to play at the TV angle quite a bit here.
Oh snap, Kos! That would be something if that happens. I hope that happens. I think that would be great.
I do really like the theory. I think the one thing working against it was Spencer saying on Twitter, "I have told my girlfriend I love her." They probably don't want him to be saying that if it's part of the storyline.
That's true. That's a good point. I'm still crossing my fingers for it.
I really want it to happen, though. Yeah.
I don't know, Taryn. Maybe not. I'm hoping you're right, Kos. That would be crazy.
You got me really worried because we saw that. I don't know if we were talking about the next time on. But on the next time on Survivor preview, we saw somebody with some medical issues at the challenge. You've got me worried now that he's going to say "I love you" to his girlfriend in the midst of a medical issue, and then he gets kicked from the game.
Yeah, that would be oh man, that would be horrible. Yeah, that is something interesting. I want to hold on that. I want to quickly though. I just want to say, do you guys think that there is any chance that we're going to see Dale out there or any Survivor related people on this family loved one visit, or no? Do you think it's going to be all outside family members on this thing?
I think we will not see Dale. I think it will be Kelly's boyfriend. And I could see Wes being Keith's, but my guess is it's his wife.
Okay, Taryn?
Man, I feel like you gotta. They're gonna really want to bring Wes, right? Unless they want the sentimental moment. But are they really gonna get a sentimental moment with Keith and his wife, or is it? I guess it's just as good if it's not sentimental and it's quirky.
Yeah,
I guess they can't really go wrong with Keith. So
no,
yeah, I can see it go either way.
Keith could bring his second cousin JoJo or something, and it would be amazing. So
JoJo from Big Brother 14.
Yeah, exactly, JoJo from Big Brother 14. All right, Keith, here it is. It's your second cousin JoJo from Big Brother 14. Oh, that would be great. Oh man. And Tyler Kakuno says in the chat, aren't his second cousin and his wife the same person? Tyler.
Well played.
How dare you, man? Come on, that's Keith Nail we're talking about here. We don't say those sorts of things about our good pal Keith Nail. The medical thing. Let's talk about that quick for the next time on Survivor. Who do you think that is? Because for me, I mean, wasn't there a point where they said he? So I think it sounds like it's a dude.
It's definitely a man's hand too. If you watch,
yeah. So, who do we suspect this is? I was personally thinking it's probably Keith Nail.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, older guy. I mean, more likely to get injured. Kos, you agree with that?
Well, I don't know if it's an old guy thing. My thought was this is the stupid Samoa Russell Hantz challenge where they put the statue on the top of the thing. Is it going to fall on somebody's head?
Yeah.
So I would think it could be anybody, specifically someone who's in the middle, where they have one from each side that could fall on them. My guess would be Keith, just because it looked like a guy, and I think if it was Spencer or Joe, they'd be hyping it up a little more. But
Right.
I don't know. I think it could be any of the guys, honestly, except Jeremy. I think we saw that it was White Hand. So I guess, what are we down to, 3 or 4 guys? So
Yeah, so it would be it would be, I think it's 4. So it would be Keith, Joe, or Spencer. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see like what exactly this is. Is this serious? Is it not? Hypothetically, let's say this is a medevac. Let's say, okay, Keith is removed from the game, so there are 7 people left in the game, and now, psych, guess what? We're going to tribal council as well. So there's 2 people going home. So the following week, it's final 6. That would mean we're going to have final 2 at the end of the season, correct?
I think so. Yeah.
Right.
I thought we were behind schedule on getting rid of people.
Well, I think didn't we catch up with the double episode, or no?
That's what I thought, because I thought that's the whole reason they did 2 on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, because let me just hold on. I'm going to pull my trusty old calendar app on my MacBook here. Okay, so the finale, I believe, is the 16th. So let's see. So if after this episode's down to 6, then after the 9th, it'll be down to 5. Okay, yeah, it would still make sense for final 3. So actually, yeah, I mean, I guess we could see that. So I don't know. I guess there's more, because some people were theorizing that it was a final 3 this season. If that happened, there's more likelihood, I guess, of that happening. But I guess, yeah, we could still see a final 3. And I hope we do see a final 3, because I feel like if we don't, we could end up in a scenario where it's Wu wins immunity, and it's Tony and Cass, and except Wu makes the right decision.
Yeah.
Exactly. That would not be fun.
I think it will be a final 3, because I think they're begging for a tie at Final Tribal Council at some point. And so with 10, with 3 people in the finals, they want the 3rd place person to break it. I think that's the next big thing on their agenda. So I think we'll end up seeing even numbered juries for a long time, actually. And I would suspect this is going to be a 3 with 10 people.
Yeah, I'm with you too, Kos. I think Jeff has really talked a lot about in interviews of, oh yeah, we got a thing planned. If there's a tie, we're not going to use it, but when it happens, we'll be ready. And it's like, okay, well, clearly Jeff wants to, he's got this thing, he wants to use it. Survivor really wants to see it. It's been 30 seasons have happened, and we haven't seen it yet. So I think at some point they are going to want to whip that out. And I think that would be a very fun night live in New York or Los Angeles, wherever it would be. But it would be exciting. We do have a call here, so we're going to take this one. This one is from John. John, how are you doing, man?
What's up, guys?
John, your connection is a little poor. So do you have a question for us?
A little bit.
Okay, so what's your question, my friend?
So, like, the UK keep hearing about, like, it was mentioned on the Tyson cast, like, about how members of RHAPpy are, like, hating Spencer because of blowing out Fishback. So, you guys, any reaction?
Just a reaction to that. Well, I could go on a huge thing about this. Kos, let me throw that to you. What do you think about that?
I missed part of the question. I'm sorry.
So John's asking, what is your thoughts on people in the RHAPpy community hating on Spencer for voting out Steven?
They're crazy. If Spencer wasn't going to do it to Steven, Steven would do it to Spencer. You should be happy that 2 guys who get the game and are big fans of the show are going after each other. I mean, that's more interesting TV. Do you really want to sit there, watching them sing Kumbaya at the Final Tribal Council together? No, this is great.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you there. I think that, they're playing a game. It's a game. Yeah. It's like, don't get mad at him for playing the game. He made a great move. And yeah, it sucks that Steven went out, and I did not want to see Steven go home, but he had to do what he had to do. And I don't fault him for that at all. And if anybody's mad at Spencer for, we got rid of Steven, well, no, he's like, you're telling me he's going to base his entire game on who is friends of the podcast, and it's not even Spencer's own podcast? No, yeah. You don't expect that of him at all. He's got to look out for himself, number one. Taryn, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's a TV show, and, you have a right to dislike whoever you want for whatever reasons you want, because it's entertainment, but I reserve the right to think that you're disliking Spencer for really, really silly reasons. So, to say I used to love Spencer and now I hate him because he took a shot at Steven, I think that's just really silly. It's part of the game. If Steven understands, then I think you can understand. So
yeah,
let's move on.
Yeah, basically, like, oh, whatever. Like, we're all gonna have, like, drinks after. So, like, I'm just gonna say Richard Lightweight, like, get a life, Bessie Floaters.
Yeah. All right. Well, John, thank you for the question, my friend.
No problem, man.
All right. So there's John with his question. Oh, look at this. Got an old friend here on the line. It's my good buddy Alex Kidwell. Alex, how are you doing?
Gentlemen.
I'm the Jerry of this podcast this time.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in the middle of a Big Brother alliance here. Like this is
as well you should.
You are literally surrounded, Kos. We've got you cornered. I mean, you're in this quadrant over here, and then it's me, Taryn, and Alex, and we're all coming after you. So you better watch your back, my friend. If you F with me, you're dead. Alex,
Kos has my back about Dan Giesling, though.
Oh, Kos, that's right. Kos does have your back about Dan Giesling. So this is fitting. We've got two Dr. Will fanboys and two Dan Giesling fanboys.
Split down the middle once again.
Split down the middle. Although, I'll admit I love Dan Giesling as well. But give me Dr. Will any day. But again, another podcast for another day. Alex, how are you doing, man? What did you think about this week's episode of Survivor?
I'm good. I was blown away. I was not, I went in with low expectations. I'm sure you guys have talked about being Thanksgiving. It was it's the week they always used to do the recap. You know what I mean? Like this didn't even used to be a legit episode this time of year. And now not only did we get like a new episode, but it wasn't even what I expected, which was right. Like the status quo type double boot where it's like, Steve and Ralph Kaiser, Soze or whatever. You know what I mean? Like the back-to-back that you always get from these seasons where it's like, you get two predictables in a row. And I guess we're not getting any of them this season.
Hold on. Time out. Was that actually the double boot for Redemption Island? Was it Steve and Ralph Kaiser?
I know Steve was second. It might have been Julie and Steve.
I think it was Julie. Yeah.
Okay. Because if it was Steve and Ralph Kaiser, I think that's like the greatest double boot episode of all time. Like,
yeah, no, it might have been Julie. Might have been old Julie Wolf instead.
I don't know about you guys. I was not a fan of Julie Wolf, but it seems like a nice enough lady. But something about her I just did not like.
Oh, that whole tribe just bummed me out. I was like, you people actually need Russell.
Yeah. That another podcast for another day. But I'm with you, Zapatera. But anyway, time in, Alex. Back to what you were saying.
Yeah, just so I guess I don't think we're gonna get one this season, like a predictable boot. You know what I mean? If we were gonna get it, surely we'd have gotten it in some kind of a double situation. So yeah, I'm really excited. I think it's just totally up in the air and going forward. I don't think what happened on the vote the 3 days before is necessarily any indicator of where we're going. So it's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been talking about it, right? Like Kos brought up the point of, hey, like what if we see the next episode, Spencer says I love you, his girlfriend, and then he gets voted out right after. That could certainly happen, even though Spencer just made a huge move and should be in a really good spot. I mean, last week we were talking, Jeremy should be in a really good spot, and now he's not. So very exciting. And that's an interesting point, the predictable boots thing. Like, Kos, has there been any predictable boots really at all this season? And is Kos frozen? I think Kos is frozen. Yeah, looks like he's frozen. So, Taryn, I'll throw that to you, my friend. Who is like? What has there been any boots that have been predictable this season for you?
I think game wise, not really. I mean, Varner's boot was probably kind of predictable, but and Monica's was really predictable edit wise, but game wise, you wouldn't have seen it coming. So for the most part, no. Like they've been pretty unpredictable all the way through.
Yeah, and that's what's, again, beauty of this season, why this is one of my favorite seasons of all time already. Kos, what do you think about that? Is there anything that comes to mind in which there was a really predictable boot, or boots in which you felt were very telegraphed? You said you felt like Sierra, you felt like you knew she was going home. I guess the Monica one as well. Other than that, Shireen maybe?
I thought the Cass boot was very obvious. I actually thought the merge was like one of the worst episodes of the season. But other than that, no, they've all been, or almost all been, completely unpredictable.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the season. I think it's great. Alex, for you, where does this season rank so far? If it ended now, if this is it, the season is over, and your season ranks, where would this rank for you?
It's high. I mean, I don't know that I've ever really sat down and like drawn out, my order of Survivor seasons exactly. I have a rough idea of like the seasons I really enjoy and the seasons that I would put towards the bottom, but It's really high. It's like probably top 3 at least without me even really giving it thought. And, there's room for improvement. So yeah, I'm loving this. I think, this is really, really cool that it's worked out so well, given that the fans picked it and everything. And I just hope it leads to more competitive casting going forward. You know what I mean? Like, I think this is a clear sign of a cast that has very little to no fluff, or, as Tyson would put them in his podcast, I guess he calls them, like fillers? Or he had a term for it, but
I have not, and I will admit I have not listened to the 3-hour Tyson Apostle extravaganza quite yet, because it just came out last night.
His one.
Oh, okay, the last one. Oh, yeah, okay.
In Worlds Apart, he talked about there's like 2 kinds of people, right? There's like players, and then there's the people who are like the for lack of a better term, like the Jeffras of the world, the people that aren't necessarily there to form an alliance and make moves. So
how dare you call Jeffra a filler, Alex? How dare you?
What, really?
Bland. Her last name is Bland, for God's sake.
She's an easy one to pick on.
Maybe they're called Blands. Maybe that's it.
Maybe it is. And I will admit I was not familiar with the fillers term, because I will.
Fakers versus teenage Tyson would know. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Teenage Tyson does. But I didn't listen to. I have not listened to the Tyson on Worlds Apart podcast yet, because I was away vacationing during that time, and I had no access to the internet. Because I was in a mysterious house with a bunch of crazy people. So yeah, I will definitely go back and check that out, though, at some point, maybe over this Christmas break when I have some time. Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm with you. This is a great season. It's very exciting. And yeah, there are the Jeffras of the world are really non-existent for the most part. I mean, yeah, there is still Keith, and there was Wu at one point, and yeah, there's Abby and Kimmy, but they are all bringing something to the table, I feel like, and there are no Blands, which is really good. Taryn, for you, where does the season rank as of right now?
Yeah, after watching those 2 episodes last night, I was like, if this continues, as long as it doesn't screw up, this could be my number 1. What really struck me was all the different angles that they were looking at the game from in both episodes. Really, we saw confessionals from so many different sides of the idea of, do we get I keep messing up Spencer and Steven. Do we get Steven out? Do we get somebody else out? We saw so many different perspectives for what was going to happen, and I don't think I've ever seen that before, where I actually got a decent picture of where everyone was coming from and all the different positions colliding together and who ended up winning that. And
all the different angles that they were.
Oh, I just got interrupted by myself.
It's always weird.
How did that happen, Taryn?
I don't know. Did you guys hear that too?
I heard that. Yeah, that was really strange. So have you cloned yourself or something? Is that what you work on in your free time? Are you like cloning? Or are we going to get 2 perfect people in the world? We're going to have Taryn and Taryn 2. That's a scary thing. Then really my podcast is going to come all downhill, because then you're going to take it over. You're going to host it and you're going to co-host it. And then Rob will fire me, and then it'll just be the Taryn show. And that'll probably be a much better podcast than what I have currently going right now.
It is funny. Oh, go ahead.
If I clone myself, I know that I'd be in a lot of trouble, because my first thought would be, do I need to kill that clone? Because I'm scared that I thought it, which means my clone must have thought it.
You always need to kill the clone.
And if we're both thinking about it, then the person that strikes first is the one that's not going to die. So
yeah, and also too, like, it's I don't know if something could happen, and you actually might think you are real. You think you're the real one. You're not the clone, but you actually might be the clone. After, like, you might not actually realize it. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Spider-Man, but that actually was a storyline once in the comics where Spider-Man got cloned, and then he, like, I don't know, I think Mysterio hit him on the head or something, and he forgot what was going on, and he was like, oh, this is crazy, and he didn't know what was happening. And then he thought that he was the real Spider-Man. He had to get rid of the clone, but actually he was the clone. He was saying he was Spider-Man and saying, no, he's like, that's the fake Spider-Man. That's the fake Spider-Man. When they did a test, and actually he was the fake Spider-Man, and it just ruined his life, and it was crazy. So
if you're identical, if your consciousness is identical, is there really a difference?
I recall Arnold Schwarzenegger going
body. This is what happens, Kos, when you when your connection.
Yeah, when your connection goes down, we talk about cloning. Sorry, Alex, what were you saying there?
I said, yeah, I think Arnold Schwarzenegger also went through something similar. But, I think one thing we should probably certainly I know I'm on board with. If you're going to kill the clone, you certainly don't just go doing it willy-nilly. You got to harvest the parts because they're identical to yours. So you just got to keep them in a cool place. And, you're ready to go. If you ever have liver poisoning or, you can go drink all you want. And, you've got a spare of everything now.
That's a really good point. So you're saying you go like the Dexter Morgan route and then just like, freeze them or maybe like
match. Everything is a perfect match.
Yeah, I really do think so.
If you're gonna kill them, you gotta make do. You gotta make use of. You can't just. You gotta be like the Native Americans with the buffalo. You know what I mean? You can't just kill it and leave it. You gotta use all the parts and really kind of
just
wipe it out. The problem with going the Dexter Morgan route though is that it's always gonna have a bad ending.
That
yeah.
You know what? I actually, okay. Here's now we're going way off track. We need to bring this up. Sorry, people who don't are going to be like, "What's going on?" But just quickly,
this is after show stuff.
This is after show stuff, and maybe we'll. You know what? We will save this for the after shows. So if you want to stick around, if you're watching this live on Blab, the after Parhar will be back today. It probably won't be as long as it normally is, but we will be back. So if you're listening to this in the audio archives, normally Taryn and I and whoever's around, we get into what's happening in just like everything. We just talk. It's sort of like a News AF, but our version of it / like the patron cast. So we just talk about like random stuff, and it's really fun. So check that out at the end of the show. It's really fun. Usually we are that usually happens at around like. Probably like 5 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific is usually when it happens live on Blab. So check that out. Join us sometime. It's really fun. And looks like we have lost Kos, and he's DMing me saying it won't let me back in. So I don't know what's gonna. We might have to. Might wind this thing down shortly here, if necessary. But we'll keep rolling for the time being. Here's a question. This one comes from Hunter, and he says, why can't they vote out Abby? She sucks at the game and isn't fun to watch. There we go. Shots fired, Alex.
Yeah, well, I mean, it comes down to, in a pool full of sharks, like who's really looking at the minnow? You know what I mean? Like everyone out there is such a player, and you just don't see Abby that way when you're playing with her. But she's a huge wild card. You know what I mean? And there comes there's certainly an argument to be made that with strategists, with thinkers, with, quote unquote sharks, that you can predict what they're going to do because you can trust them to act in their best interests. And to me, that's huge. You know what I mean? Like you cannot trust Abby to act in her best interest. Abby, I mean, we've constantly seen she tried to start a fight with Spencer and Steven. There's no other side. You know what I mean? On that vote, like, so there's no rational, she's great TV, like, yeah, gold, but that's why she's out there. That's why I voted for her. You know what I mean? I didn't think she was going to go out there and be a big player. I'm like, here's a, as Rob and Joshua put it sometimes, here's a bomb for the players to have to defuse. And if it's me, I'm trying to defuse that thing like the first chance I get because I just don't want it to blow up in my face. But they've allowed it to keep ticking. You know what I mean? It's still there. And it got to a point right at the merge where numbers are so big that she really didn't have any power. So, it's almost been like a weird curve with her where now we're getting to the point where her vote has a lot of power again. And it's, it's going to backfire on people. And, I think Steven certainly, he was needing that vote and it didn't come through. And there's going to be other people going forward, I worry, that, are thinking they have Abby and, there's a lot of just very minutia type things that can flip Abby as we've seen.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an understatement for sure. Kos, did you have Abby Maria on your ballot to come back to the second chances as Alex Kidwell did?
Hell yes. I love Abby. I think she's terrific, and I wanted her to Abby.
All right, Taryn, you were shaking your head when that happened, when Alex announced that. You did not vote for Abby.
No, I didn't need to see Abby. That's not what I watched Survivor for. And I understand why people do, but yeah, not me.
All right, interesting. And we're getting a tour of Kos's house as he's trying to figure out his connection. So which room are we in now, Kos?
We're in the guest bedroom where I don't have hardwood floors that echo, so hopefully this is a little better.
That sounds a lot better. Yeah, that's great. So there we go.
No beam of light either.
No, this actually is good. And yeah, the crack is gone. So are you on your laptop now?
I'm on the iPhone now, so this may work better. We'll see.
We'll see. Okay, there we go.
We'll
So
see.
look at Kos being resourceful. He's resilient and adaptable. Something you want to see in a Survivor player and something you want to see in a podcast guest for sure.
Well, Amanda Kimball was the one sabotaging my computer, so this is my way around it.
Oh man, Kos and Amanda Kimmel, the everlasting rivalry. The just like Boston Rob and Russell Hantz. Rocky and Drago, Kos and Amanda Kimmel. It's all great rivalries. Okay, let's take a couple more and then we'll wind this thing down. Let's see. Okay, so this one comes from Eric, and he says, Spencer seems to be working with Joe since the merge. Do you think he plans to vote him out late, or are they aligned? Yeah, that's actually an interesting point. Joe and Spencer have been on the same page. Not every vote, but, I mean, a lot of times they have been on the same page. So what do you think about – do you think we could see a scenario in which Joe and Spencer are in a Final 3 or Final 4 together?
I could see Final 4, but I don't think Final 3. I mean, I would think if Joe wins the Final 4 immunity, he votes out Spencer. If Spencer wins it, he votes out Joe. So I don't really see them sitting together at the end.
Yeah, I see that.
Alex?
You could see it, but then you're looking at a situation where Joe wins the game. Like, if Joe's sitting there at the Final 3, how does Joe not win this game? I mean, really, because I don't envision a situation where Joe gets there without winning, at least the bulk of the rest of the immunities, or maybe finding an idol in addition. And, I think it's just going to be too hard to deny him if he's there. You know what I mean? The track record, the fact that he wasn't even eligible to be voted for until day 25 or whatever, it's just too impressive, I think.
Okay, well, Alex, earlier in the podcast, Kos and I were talking about this, and Kos thinks that if Joe does win out and he does make it to the final tribal council, that he isn't necessarily going to win the game. So, Kos, do you have anything you want to throw back at Alex in regards to that?
Yeah, I just think if he ends up winning, say, 9 immunities, which would be all the rest, I think if he's sitting next to someone like Kelly at the end, I really think in this season in particular, when you're looking at so many people who are strategy-minded, I feel like, there are people who would vote not against Joe, but for the strategist sitting next to him. So I think, obviously if Joe's there with like Kimmy and Keith, he's going to kill them. But I think if you have someone like Kelly Wentworth who takes control and controls, say, the last 5 or 6 votes of the game, I think it'd be tough to deny her, even against somebody who won 9 immunities in a row, or 9 immunities total.
Yeah, I'm with Kos here a bit. I think I don't think it's a given that Joe wins in the end. I think the biggest thing for him is that if he gets to the end having won 9 immunities, he crushes such a long-standing record by so much. And I think it's the record. I think that's going to be the thing that people go, wow, he really did. He broke the record that was there since season 2. So I think that's the biggest challenge to overcome, but I don't think he's unbeatable.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would be about kind of the precedent set. You know what I mean? We don't see this. You know what I mean? If we start seeing this more often, obviously with Mike Holloway last season, if this becomes more of a running trend where, and this is something people don't really talk about, but I chalk a lot of Mike's success up to his competition. I mean, I would love to play in challenges against Dan and Will Sims all day. Let's do it. You know what I mean? Let me be on that season, please. But anyways,
that's actually, Alex, that's actually not that's an interesting point. Cause
it is a factor.
Yeah. Seriously, because Alex, if it's the final 5 and it's me, you, Carolyn, Will and Dan.
Rodney wasn't winning anything either.
Wasn't winning anything either. You and I could win immunity.
We're in challenge threats now.
Yeah, it's exactly. Wait, what?
Yeah, we're talking a bunch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is crazy. Yeah, because I mean, I am not an athlete, but I also don't get out of breath walking upstairs. So I mean, I can hang in there with the Will Sims, I think. So, anyways, but yeah, no, my point is if we see this more going forward, I think it becomes a little bit watered down, and then at that point, I certainly think you see less weight put towards it. But yeah, like Taryn said, if he's won so many that it just is at a point, and Steven was trying to get him and Steven couldn't get him. And I'm sure he'll have some degree of respect for that if he's there. And I just think given that we haven't really seen someone do it to this degree ever, I think, it would be just too hard to refuse him at this point. Especially, Steven talking about kind of the evolution of the game. And these people, as much as they respect strategy, they're kind of like fans of Survivor history too. You know what I mean? And there's no history that would match kind of what he would be able to accomplish if he got there.
I think it again comes down to, if somebody is going to plan on getting there to the end with Joe, they need to plan on, like, how can I discredit him through all the way through the game to make it seem
bury him.
He's not making any decisions. Sure, he's winning these competitions, but whatever. We're not even trying. I don't need to win any of them. I'll let Joe win them. That's essentially what Yule did with Ozzy, and makes deals with people to say, I need to secure a vote with you, even if somebody was like Joe is there because I control the vote right now and I can, lend you a week or two, so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I hope it happens. I think it'll be fun to see if that is, because again, unprecedented. It'll be very interesting, and we'll find out. Are they going to give him the credit for that, or are they not? And as Alex said, will this maybe become a trend in seasons moving forward? I don't think so, because I think it's too hard to replicate somebody going on just a huge immunity run like that. But that happened in back-to-back seasons with people who were both from Survivor Worlds apart would be very interesting indeed. But I think.
Hey, can I ask one other question?
Yeah.
So we saw in the first episode of this two-parter that 8 out of 10 people sat out of the immunity challenge, which certainly helped Joe win. Do you think that they'll continue adding more things in like this? Because Survivor would love to see Joe win 9 immunities. Do you think they'll do more stuff like this where people have to sacrifice? And did you think this was at all rigged in that they weren't allowed to talk and 5 people had to sit out? So they were probably pretty confident that at least 7 or 8 would sit out. What did you guys think about that?
That's a good one. I mean, there's definitely merit to that. And I think that we probably will see eat or play scenario at some point in the season. So if we see one of those, I think that also helps Joe too. And Joe was struggling a little bit, at least from what I saw in that one. And I think, on that challenge, I think if you're a taller guy, I don't think it's the easiest one, because you've got the larger wingspan. You're holding up more compared to somebody who's shorter and doesn't weigh as much. At least that's how I was looking at it. So yeah, I certainly think that that benefited Joe, and they would love to do things like that to help him even more so in the future. Taryn, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that definitely crossed my mind. Something that I think lends credence to it is the fact that I think it was something that was put in there, not pre-planned because of the storms. They were getting pummeled by the rain, and so they thought, well, we need to do something, or we're not going to get any footage. We need to upgrade their shelter. Here's a fun way to do it that's going to cause drama, and hey, maybe it'll help out Joe. Maybe it'll help him get to a record. I don't think they're expecting Joe to win the game. I don't think it's so game-changing that it's they rigged it for Joe. I think it's it's an understandable thing. The players made the decision themselves to sit out and to let Joe win the competition, essentially. So I think I'm with you. I think they probably put it there thinking, yeah, this is good for Joe, and we want him to win.
Alex, you on the same page?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to that kind of stuff, sometimes I just try to bury my head in the sand and pretend it doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Because it just really does, ruin the magic to a degree, obviously. But when you're really kind of spending time thinking about, that kind of stuff. But no, what Taryn said is something I hadn't thought about, but I think it makes perfect sense in that, right, this couldn't be pre-planned because of the fact that they didn't know they would need a shelter so badly that they would, give up. That's something they've never done before. So they didn't know they would need to do it before the season started. So that does make me think, right, it can't have been planned, and that's unfortunate. But and another thing, just all these kind of endurance type balance challenges that we've seen, and not very much variety. So it's these are all things that Joe seems to do well at, but I don't know how much of that is, skewed towards Joe versus them just trying to have compelling, aren't those the challenges that people like to watch? You know what I mean? So I don't know, but ultimately I still think it's going to be hard for him to, they're going to have some variety at some point here with these challenges. There's going to be something that comes up that I'd be really surprised still to see him win out.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, we saw this week, right? The foot thing that Baylor won in San Juan del Sur. We saw that Spencer beat him in that challenge. I think we probably will see a little bit more variation Maybe
We saw Steven beat him in a challenge.
we did.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see.
Legends of the Hidden Temple challenge.
Yes,
I love they brought that back.
So maybe that was a great challenge. I love seeing that.
And that great moment where Steven grabs the middle jar, and then Abby immediately takes the thing and runs away, and then Steven grabs the one on the right. Says, "Sorry, Abby."
She's like, "Oh, good, I don't have to read."
That was so great. And when I saw that moment, I was like, okay. And Steven won. I was like, okay, well, Steven deserved it for that move alone. When he just like opens it, closes it. So good. Love that so much. I was watching that. I was actually watching that with my parents, and my mom was like, she was like, oh my God, I can't believe he did that. That was so good.
Such perfect revenge.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Shout out to my mom who was actually watching this live earlier. So there you go. I'm very, I love seeing that. It's cool seeing variations in challenges for sure. And maybe we'll get some water challenges and stuff coming up soon. Something different. I'm excited to see this family one, what exactly that's going to be. We shall see what exactly is going to happen. But let's wind things down, guys. I think it's we've had a good discussion here today. There's 3 hours worth of talk on RHAPpy this week with Rob talking to Tyson Apostle. So no need for us to go on for 3 hours this week because I doubt very many people are going to be even downloading this one or listening.
Yeah, if anyone listened to this one before listening to Tyson, what are you doing?
What exactly? Straight up, what are you doing? Yeah, for the 33 people that are watching this live.
Wait, we didn't win Survivor?
I certainly, exactly. I certainly hope that you listen to Tyson and Rob talk already. Or you're just here for the after Parhar, which is fair because that's actually kind of fun.
That's immediate content there.
Yeah, and that's something you can only catch live. So I can understand why those people will be here. But otherwise, yeah, go check that out. It's really good. RobIsAWebsite.com for all that stuff, Survivor Know-It-Alls, and all the great stuff that is going on there. Taryn, Alex, I'm going to bid adieu to you guys because Kos and I are going to have a little intimate one-on-one time before I say goodbye to him. So we will see you guys hopefully in the after show.
Yeah. Nice talking to you guys.
All right. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, great show as always, guys. So that's Taryn Armstrong and Alex Kidwell. You can follow Taryn Armstrong on Twitter. He's at Armstrong Taryn. You can follow Alex on Twitter. He is at Alex Kidwell. Okay, Kos, great episode today, man. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh yeah, thanks. It was an honor for you to even ask me to be on. Like you said, there are probably many people who are just going to shut this off as soon as they see it's me on there. So for you to take that risk, I appreciate it. But it's always fun talking Survivor with any big fans, and especially somebody like you who I know has been around since the prehistoric ages of RHAPpy. It's a pleasure to talk with you. It's been a blast.
Yeah, thanks, Kos. And you know what? Don't worry about that at all. I think a lot of people who listen to this show, they have a high tolerance for people who. And you're far better of a person than I am. You're not annoying. You don't go on long rants and tangents. So if people are actually coming out and listening to my show, they're gonna love you. Don't worry about that at all. And I'm sure you're gonna get nothing but love in the comments. Please, yeah, seriously, leave us comments as well. Speaking of that, robisawebsite.com. Let us know what you thought about the show. What do you hate Kos because he doesn't like Amanda Kimmel? Why do you love Kos? I love Kos. So talk about that. Send Kos some love. If you want to send some hate, send it my way because that's just fitting. I get it a lot and I can handle it. And I'm sure Kos can too. He's a big boy, but at the same time, Kos is actually good. So give him some love. He's at I am the Kos on Twitter. So Kos, and you live tweet the episode and stuff from time to time as well, right?
Every now and then. It depends on how good the episode is. Sometimes I don't watch live either, but yeah, every now and then. So you keep an eye out for a pro Spencer tweet at some point, I'm sure.
All right, awesome. And Kos, hashtag for this episode. Anything come to mind for you? I know when you were out fixing your internet, Taryn and I with Alex, we were talking about cloning ourselves. So I was going to say hashtag clone Taryn, but then it doesn't really involve you, and you were the guest of this episode. So I feel like we should do something centered around what you said at some point.
I can't think of anything because I'm so busy talking. I don't actually listen to a word I'm saying. I don't know. Do you have anything in mind?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, let's see. Survivor Tyler in the chat is saying Kos hates Sandra. So maybe hashtag Kos hates Sandra. Or that actually wouldn't be terrible. I'm trying to think what else. I mean, hashtag equity. I really like that term, and I think that was something we talked about. And you being a poker player, I think that, or you don't play. Do you play poker still? Because it says in your bio, you're a former pro poker player, so you don't play poker anymore.
No, I played for 4 years up until Black Friday, and ever since then, I'm retired. So got my money back last year, but no, I'm essentially retired from poker these days.
Really? Okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
So there we go. Edward Morris in the chat is saying hashtag cosplay. I don't know if you've ever done a cosplay cost, but that would be funny.
I have not, but that's good. I like that.
That is good. Okay, well, we never talked about. Okay, he's saying credit Alex, so maybe Alex Kidwell was saying that earlier. Why don't we go with that? I like hashtag cosplay, even though that never really came up, but that's cool. That works, flows well.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Follow Kos on Twitter. He's at I am the Kos. Follow me on Twitter. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you probably already are, but if not, I am at Jordan Parhar. That's Jordan like Michael Jordan, and Parhar Parhar. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Don't ever miss an episode of the RHAPpy Hour. We're going to be recapping every single Survivor episode from here on out. I was supposed to go on an internship for a few weeks at a news station, so I was going to have to get Taryn to cover for me and do a few podcasts, but that actually fell through, Kos. So I will be here throughout the rest of the season. So make sure you guys don't miss an episode. RHAPpy Hour, and we'll be talking Survivor the rest of the Survivor season, probably in the off season, talking about just random stuff like best seasons and maybe some Big Brother stuff. Who knows what's on the docket, but I'm sure I'll find some topics to discuss. And Kos, I would love to have you back on at some point. So you did great today, and I appreciate you being so generous with your time.
Yeah, thanks anytime. And I think we say this a lot, but you're really killing it here. It's kind of embarrassing how much better you are at this than most people who've been doing it for years and years. So quit showing us up there, buddy.
Thank you. I don't know if that's I would agree with that, but I appreciate the kind words, and that means a lot coming from you, Kos. So thank you. But yeah, all right, guys. So thank you so much for joining us today. For all of you guys in the chat, I will still be here for a few minutes, for a little bit after the show, for the after party. So definitely check that out. We'll be back next week. My scheduled guest is the tabulator, Kurt Clark. So check that out next Saturday, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern on Blab. And just follow me on Twitter for all the information on that. Okay, guys. So thank you for joining us. For Kos Kosdrosky, I'm Jordan Parhar. # cosplay. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Peace out.